Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general under President Trump. Good to see you, Matt. So the list, it's out. We've seen it. We know who's on it. Hunter Biden is one, an employee at Burisma on that big energy company in Ukraine, one of their leadership there. Can we expect to see any number of the requested GOP witnesses approved by Democrats?
I think it's very dangerous in this hyper-partisan environment where only Democrats have voted to proceed with this impeachment inquiry to not grant Republicans a fair number of witnesses that would, again, shed light on this whole situation. I think this idea that somehow the whistleblower, who is what started and kicked off this whole issue of an potentially impeachable offense, is not going to be called. I think the American people are not going to be happy with that, just based on the constitutional ideas of due process and fairness.
You know, I want to go to this from the House Democratic Caucus Chairman Hakeem Jeffries responding on Twitter to the GOP's impeachment witness list. He says, quote, House Republican #cover-up caucus wants sham witnesses to testify. My 2 cents, get lost. And you say what?
Well, again, this is another example. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is somebody that I had an interesting interaction with when I testified in front of Congress last February. And my experience with him is he does not like this president. He is not fair and impartial. He's going to vote with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats to impeach the president. And again, the American people are so frustrated with a partisan process that occupies both the House and soon the Senate when we should be passing the USMCA trade agreement. We should be honoring our veterans and doing everything we can to support them. We have a crisis with suicides among our veterans, and
yes.
Small business owners and farmers need help, and Congress is all they're focused on is this impeachment.
Just to hit the pause button for a second there. So later this hour, we'll be giving some information for a hotline for suicides among veterans and really trying to understand and give them some shoring up and love. I want to get back to this. Is Senator Graham right that impeachment is dead unless you hear from the main whistleblower?
If the process in the House does not look fair, and that the only witnesses that are called are Democrat witnesses, and the attempts of Republicans to shed a light on a broader picture of this situation relating to Ukraine, the Bidens, and others, I think the Senate is probably not only is it dead on arrival, there's a risk that the Senate doesn't even take it up. It is a completely partisan exercise where only Democrat witnesses, only Democrats' votes, and Republicans' rights to due process and fairness are not honored.
Well, and this is already in the public sphere because we're entering 2020 zone for a presidential election. And so when you have the drumbeat of it still looks like there might not be complete fairness or transparency in the process, it does make it difficult, one could argue, for Democrats. Meanwhile, we're learning more about the GOP's defense strategy at this point. Politico is reporting that they plan to paint the process as politically motivated and will look to minimize President Trump's Ukraine role while stepping up scrutiny of the Bidens. What do you think about that as a strategy?
Well, I still can't find any facts or any witness that suggests the president did anything wrong. There is this, we see potentially that people thought or felt or believed, but we haven't found anybody that has actual evidence. And, fundamentally, here's what we know. We know that Ukraine didn't feel pressure. We know that no investigation was opened in Ukraine into the Bidens, and we know that Ukraine received all of this aid. So to me, as a former prosecutor, I'm looking at the elements of any potential law that could have been violated. I don't see anything here, and I don't see facts that support this impeachment. And I think it's really, again, I have to point out, Harris, there are so many other things Congress would be focused on other than this.
Right, but they are focused on it. And for now, as you say, it might not be about a crime. It might just be about politics. And so Democrats appear to be gearing up for this GOP strategy. House Intelligence Committee Democrats watch.
This is a very simple, straightforward act. The president broke the law. This is a very strong case of bribery.
We have enough evidence from the depositions that we've done to warrant bringing this forward, evidence of an extortion scheme using taxpayer dollars to ask a foreign government to investigate the president's opponent.
So, Matt, real quickly, you caught there kind of the generational move from quid pro quo to bribery. Your reaction, and maybe you can explain the sameness or difference.
Well, I noticed over the weekend the whole idea and tone of the Democrats where they started using terms like extortion and bribery instead of quid pro quo or abuse of power. But, you know, as a prosecutor, I know the elements of those law violations, and these facts don't fit bribery, extortion. The president has done nothing wrong and did nothing outside of, you know, his power as president of the United States to administer the foreign affairs of our country. And again, I point out that Ukraine got the money, there was no investigation opened, and the president of the Ukraine has said very, you know, clearly that he did not feel pressured and did not know that aid was somehow being conditioned on any investigation. So I'm sorry, Harris, but it's very frustrating. When I'm back in Iowa this last weekend, the people that I talk to, they care about the work of the people and not impeachment.
And they care about trade. Those farmers in Iowa, too.
I'm telling you, the farmers desperately want USMCA passed, and the House just appears to be solely focused on impeachment, and it's a shame.
Yeah. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. Matt Whitaker, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.